Welcome to Jack Sports TV with Damian Bell. I'm Pat Donovan. We're talking Tampa Bay Rays baseball, of course. We just talked about this huge series, this huge homestand for the Tampa Bay Rays. Now the question is Saturday, just a couple of days away, Damian. We know the trade market. It's not as it is in many years. There's not a lot of big-name guys out there. There's not a lot of teams that are selling right now. But the Rays are certainly a team that wants to be a buyer. So the question is, will they be able to find a good trade to make this team better come the trade deadline, or at least the non-waiver trade deadline, which is Saturday afternoon? And if so, do they pull that trigger? Because we know that the Rays don't jump out and make trades just to make trades. They don't make a move for the sake of making a move. And if the Rays have to even consider trading, well, they won't consider. If somebody starts asking for Jeremy Hellickson, if somebody starts asking for Desmond Jennings, the fact of the matter is it's not going to happen. If somebody starts asking for one of the players on the current roster, I don't see it happening. So is there prospects? And we know there is, but is another team going to try to force the issue with Hellickson or Desmond Jennings, or do the Rays find a way to get an Adam Dunn or somebody like that into the fold?
Well, the easy answer to that question is, and read my lips, no. But the Rays, they're in a great position to where we spent 8+ minutes talking about the team. You know, not the circumstances around the team, not the front office trying to make believers of the team, not the attendance woes. Just the team, the 25-man roster, and all things going with the Rays. When you got it that good, you don't necessarily need to make a trade. And we all know better when you follow the Rays' struggles on offense and their inconsistencies in the first half. You know they need a good power bat. They need a power hitter in there to supplant the big hitters that they have to protect those 3, 4, 5 guys. We know they need another complementary starter that can float between that middle reliever or emergency spot start. We know they need these things, but they're in a good position to where between the youth they've got in their minor league system and the veterans they have up front right now on the 25-man roster, they're not that desperate to just sell the farm and bring in that big guy. And there may be some teams that, you know, are desperate enough to move a guy. Like every week you hear about B.J. Upton. We got to let him go. We got to let him go. There's not a team out there that says, we got to have B.J. Upton. We can reform him. We can fix him. So, you know, the past 2 or 3 years, the Rays have been able to watch the trade deadline come and go and pick up somebody from the waivers and watch it work out. They did it with Chad Bradford the year they went to the World Series. They did it last year with the catcher Zahn. And they could easily do it this year with one of the players that you named.
Yeah, and the one thing that did disappoint me last year, and it seemed to turn around in my face a little bit because it's turned out to be a good move for the long term of this team, was Scott Kazmir being traded for Sean Rodriguez and a couple of other pieces that are still in the minors today. But Sean Rodriguez, who was at the time the player to be named later, Sean Rodriguez was a guy that is very good for this team. He's playing very good baseball. Kazmir looks bad, but let's remember when they did make that trade, the Rays were in the middle of a playoff hunt. The Rays were in contention, and Scott Kazmir was pitching pretty well at the time. And I sat back here and said, what are they doing? The Rays have basically thrown the towel in on the season when you take Kazmir, who's pitching well at the time he was, and you take him and pull him from the rotation. You put Andy Sonnenstein back in, who was terrible at the time, who, by the way, has been very good out of the bullpen. I said this a couple years ago when his starting trouble started. I said, look, you put this guy in the bullpen, he can be very much like a right-handed J.P. Howell, who we've lost for this season. But I didn't like the Kazmir trade when it happened. It's turned out very well for us because Sean Rodriguez is a heck of a young ball player. But this is one thing I know we won't have to worry about this season. We won't have to worry about any of the Rays starters, whether it be in the rotation or in the field. I don't see any of those guys getting traded, including B.J. Upton. And, you know, B.J.'s had his ups and downs. B.J.'s had his issues. B.J. does lack hustle from time to time, but I'm going to maintain my position as the biggest B.J. Upton apologist I know and say I still believe in the kid quite a bit. I still believe that he cares about and I've said this too many times, but I believe B.J. Upton cares about baseball so much more than people give him credit for, or people understand, because of the kind of kid he is. He's quiet, he's shy, he's not real outspoken, and when he does lack hustle from time to time, people just say that's who he is. And I don't buy that for a second. I see a guy that wants to be a winner and a guy that thinks team first, even though nobody believes that that's the case.
Well, with B.J. Upton, you know, it might be the Rays fans just looking for a colorful personality to get behind and push. You know, the Yankees have their A-Rod that they can love to hate or hate to love, and it just moves them forward. Same thing with the Rays. You know, you go through the Rays' history. They've never had that one polarizing player that just made people say, that guy just does it to me. is BJ. And it's not like BJ gets in front of the locker room and says a phrase or two that gets people up in arms. No, he might strike out here. He might fall asleep on the base paths here. He might not run after that ball, even though he's 15 times faster than anybody else watching him. But he's just that guy that the fans have to harp on, and it's been 2 or 3 years. Mentally, it might be at a point where he needs to move on just to get away from being that guy that people have to find something wrong with before finding what's right with him.
Yeah, and I hope not. And getting back to the trade deadline again, I think the scary thing is what the Rays need is a right-handed power bat. You're right, they need a power bat, but I think they more than anything need a guy from the right side of the plate. And when you look at the guys who are out there, really the only guy that everybody knows will very likely be traded before Saturday's non-waiver trade deadline is Adam Dunn. And Adam Dunn's a left-handed bat. And Adam Dunn would do a lot for the Rays lineup, but again, we need more right-handed guys. We're in a little better shape than we were a year ago because of Sean Rodriguez and how well he's played, because of the fact that they've got a lot of Ben Zobrist and guys like that that can switch hit. But I still think they'd like to get a right-handed bat with power from the right-handed side of the plate, and I don't see him out there. The other guy that's been kind of whispered about is Corey Hart, but I'll be honest, I don't see the Brewers moving Corey Hart unless it's for a package that includes some pretty damn good prospects. And I don't think the Rays go out there and make a move that includes pretty damn good prospects unless they think this is a guy that puts us over the top and gets us a World Series victory. And I'm not sure Corey Hart's that guy. I think he's a hell of a baseball player. He's been an all-star the last 2 years. I don't know he's the guy that you consider trading even a Desmond Jennings for. You're not trading Jeremy Hellickson regardless. Pitchers like that don't come around that often. The kid's not going anywhere. But I don't see Desmond Jennings going anywhere either unless it was for a superstar, and Corey Hart's not quite at that level yet.
Well, I said it last week and I'll say it again. Perception-wise, until the Rays can pull off that blockbuster deal to get that big-name player out there, to me, they'll still be perceived as the old Devil Rays, that old team just in over their heads with that winning, and it's going to take a while to make that move. You didn't agree with me last week. You probably won't agree with me this week, but it's something that needs to happen. Maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe in the offseason. But here, when you go to this game this weekend, the Yankee series, yeah, they got that concert thing, but baseball, that's what you want to hear.
Los Lobos? You're not into Los Lobos?
Phooey, baseball, Rays, first place. That's what we want, and the Yankees are there too. So all weekend you'll hear, let's go Yankees, and then you might hear, let's go Rays. You know what you ought to hear? Vegas Showgirls. Try it. Vegas Showgirls. Just get them talking about
Free with a ticket stub.
It's the way to do it. Jack Sports TV coming right back.
We can talk sports, but we can't sing.
He needs to sing.